Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 141. I'm your host, Mariefiebach, and I'm so excited to be with you today. Today is a really special episode because it is a full on-air coaching session with the delightful Emily. We dig into some of her challenges, like figuring out how to get dinner on the table after you pick up the kids from daycare, how to kind of expand the number of meals that you're making so you're not having the same thing over and over again. We also dig in a little bit into batch cooking and some of the easy ways to get started batch cooking, and then what kind of containers are you putting these things in that you're batch cooking? So listen to today's podcast and learn a little bit about what it's like to be coached by Feed Your Family Tonight. Emily, welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. I'm so happy to have you here to do a little bit of on-air coaching. We're going to start off by just having you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, who lives in your home, where in the world you live, and then we'll kind of go from there. So tell us, Emily, tell us who you are and where in the world you live and who's at home with you.
Well, thanks for having me. I am in Maryland. I have 4 kids and a husband. So I have 6-year-old twins that are my stepkids, and then a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old.
You are in the thick of it of motherhood. You're still really in that phase where there's a lot of physical taking care of people's needs. Do you feel that?
I feel that. And we just got my daughter in daycare full time. So it's the making the bottles and doing all that stuff now that she's in the school full time.
That's a lot, isn't it? Because you have to think so much ahead of time and there's so much to prep. And then they get home from daycare and you have all of the cleanup and you have dinner and you have bedtime. Do you feel that in your routine? Does the cleanup become part of your dinner routine or is it a separate routine?
It's a separate routine. I wish it could be part of my dinner routine, but there's just too much going on while I'm trying to cook the dinner. So it kind of becomes part of my cleanup routine. But some days I have to pack 7 bags to be able to go to school. So that part, it's like cleanup, lunches, and just making sure everyone's wearing the right shirt that day, the right color, if they have like color day or whatever. So it's a lot of organization with it.
I bet. And from what little I know about you, because you filled out an application before you got on the podcast, I get the feeling that you're a very regimented type of mom who tries to dot the I's and cross the T's. Am I right?
I mean, our daycare teachers have told me that I'm always on top of it with making sure that they're always wearing the right thing and wearing their Hawaiian shirt on luau day. So kind of, yes.
No shame in that game. That is something I am not. So I always admire people that have that gift. You kind of talked about dinner a little bit, and we're going to just hop right into it. What is your current dinner time like? Do you like to eat at the same time every day? Are you changing time to time depending upon what's happening? Tell me what your dinner hour looks like in your home.
So I strive to get dinner on the table by 6. And depending on the day, it can go all the way until 6:30. So I try to get between that 6 or 6:30 time. Hopefully it's more closer to the 6. And it's the same every single day because I'll get off of work, go pick the kids up and come back home.
Okay. And you work from home. So you're kind of going back and forth between home. What time do you pick up everybody from daycare usually, give or take?
I try to pick them up at like 4:30 and be home by 5.
Oh, so you have that long of a commute. You have a half-hour commute from daycare to home?
No, it just takes a long time to pick all the different kids up.
I get it. Are you at one daycare or do you have 2 stops?
One daycare that all of them go to.
Okay. But when you're picking up 4, that creates a half-hour pickup routine. And then what's it like? Yep. So then what's it like when you come home? Are the kids, have they had a snack? Are they hungry? Are they cranky? Are they needy? What's it like when you come home?
So when I come home, they've had a snack at school. And so they don't get any food until it's time for dinner from me. They've already had a 3 or 3:30 snack. And so we come home, and either if my husband's home, he'll take the older kids out, either a bike ride or play outside. If it's just me, normally we just sit in front of the TV. They sit in front of the TV while I'm trying to get dinner prep. My 5-month-old is really the hard one, because that's kind of her witching hour where she's just kind of cranky until it's time to go to bed. She's kind of tired from the day. Right when I get home, I try to either feed her and then get dinner started, or I kind of play that one by ear. And I just take that next time. The kids are either occupied with my husband or with the TV, and then I'm working on cooking dinner.
Okay, so then tell me, what kind of dinners are you making? And they may change from day to day. Are you kind of a fix things earlier in the day and throw something in the slow cooker? Or are you like cooking starting from the very beginning when you set foot into the kitchen and working your way until dinner time?
Well, that's what I'm trying to work on. Some days I'll work on my lunch break and try to prep a few things, but mainly it's 5:00. Let's start. Hopefully I've figured out what I'm going to plan doing this meal planning. But at 5:00, I'll start cooking. So it's, if I'm making tacos, then I'm browning the meat and starting from there, or putting stuff in an Instant Pot. But I'm not the greatest cook. So I've been kind of working on or I'll grill something on like our indoor grill or something. But I'm not the greatest cook. So I'm trying to work on broadening my horizons, because I kind of cook the same things over and over again. But there's not a lot of prep. So I'm trying to work on getting things prepped better than I do.
Well, you're not alone in wanting to build your cooking skills. And you're also really not alone when it comes to feeling like you're cooking the same thing over and over again. I talk with thousands of parents all over the country, and that is a big pain point for a lot of people. So do we want to tackle that first, or do we want to tackle some of the time management and some of the prep things first? Which way would you rather go?
Probably the time management and prep.
Okay. And you said you're meal planning. So are you meal planning for 5 days, 7 days, or hit and miss here and there?
I'm trying to do 7 days. What I found out worked for me this week was I literally took my pen and paper to the dinner table and ask everyone, okay, you can pick on Tuesday what you want, and you can pick on Wednesday. And I tried to get different people's input. For me, coming up with ideas, I was like, spaghetti. Like I was having trouble coming up with new things. Okay,
so that's useful. Now, the question is, did your kids give you a variety, or were they kind of picking the same things that are in your standard repertoire?
They gave our standard repertoire, because it was things they know I can cook, like spaghetti and chicken and mashed potatoes. But I also asked them, we kind of led them to answers like, oh, would you like rice on the side or mashed potatoes, or things that I knew how to cook. And then they gave their answers. And of course, they all wanted macaroni and cheese. And so we made them pick different things than macaroni and cheese.
I mean, there's no shame with a little macaroni and cheese every now and then, but you don't want it 7 days a week. Like that would be more than I could handle. Okay. Do you have a master meal planning sheet, which is like a list of all of the things that you currently make? Do you have one of those?
I do not have one. I am working on building one.
Okay. Building one takes, I tell people to get one that's really working takes about a year, because as the seasons change, you're going to think about, like right now we're in the dead of summer and you're not thinking about soups and stews. And then when the fall hits, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm wanting some like warming things like casseroles, soups, stews, roasts, those things. So as the seasons change, adding to that master meal planning sheet will help you. And I have a copy of a master meal planning sheet that's broken down either by animal proteins, or I have one for vegans and vegetarians too. So if you haven't printed that off, and for the listeners, you can get that at feedyourfamilytonight.com/master. I'll link to it in the show notes. But this master meal planning sheet is a place to do a quick brain dump of things that you make. And then as you try new recipes, here is the key to the master meal planning sheet working, is that do not put it on the master meal planning sheet until you've fed it to your family 3 times with relative success. I am feeding a family of 6 picky eaters, and relative success means 4 out of 5 will eat it, the 5th one will eat it, and they will complain, and the 6th one gets a peanut butter sandwich. Okay? So it doesn't have to be like perfect success, but success enough, because what happens is the first time you make it, everybody eats it. And then the second time they make it, half of them complain. And then the third time they're like, we don't like this, Mom. So if you can get through the third time and they like it, then it can go on the sheet. We kind of were talking about time management. And I think, Emily, for you to take this one step further is you need to start writing the amount of time it takes. So is this a 30-minute meal start to finish? Or is this a meal that you can work for like 15 minutes on your lunch hour since you're working from home and do a little prep and like throw it into the oven before you head to daycare? Is this a meal that you can prep the night before and again, put in the oven at 4:30 before you're heading to pick up everybody from daycare? Or is this a meal where you put it all in the Instant Pot and then you go and feed your 5-month-old and have their snuggle time while the Instant Pot does the work? So I want you to kind of start putting the time. And when that time happens, does it happen the night before? Does it happen earlier in the day? Does it have to happen right at dinner time? Do you think that might help you plan a little better?
Yes, it actually just even thinking about how long things take, because even the Instant Pot, okay, I know I'm going to put it in for 10 minutes, but then it's got that time that it takes to seal up. So putting in the thought in this big list to kind of even knowing how long things take, because sometimes I don't even, that's why it's sometimes dinner doesn't end up on the table until 6:30 because I didn't calculate the time right.
Exactly. So over the next few weeks, as you're making meals, add them to the master meal planning sheet. You might even set a stopwatch on your phone so that you have realistic time, because I don't know about you, but in my mind, I think I can do things faster than they really take. And sometimes I'm not honest with myself about how much time a task really takes. Now, because I do recipe development, I make myself set stopwatches so that I can write it down, and the recipes that I put on my blog are accurate, at least accurate in my home. And honestly, I pad it a little bit because I'm faster with the knife than a lot of people. I'm faster and I can multitask while I'm cooking more than a lot of people can, just because I have so much experience with it. So start setting a stopwatch on your phone and then start adding those times to that master meal planning sheet. The other thing that you said that I think might be really helpful to you is, do you ever do a little bit of batch cooking or a little bit of cook once, eat twice, where you make double a batch and you put some in the freezer for later? Do you ever do any of that?
I've done that only with ground beef, browning it ahead of time, the taco meat and the just regular ground beef. And every time I do it, I'm like, this is really helpful. But then it's like it takes so little time to get it out and heat it up that you didn't appreciate it because it just kind of happened. And I haven't gone forward with doing that regularly.
I'm going to encourage you to start with that cook once, eat twice philosophy. So if you are putting on your meal plan, and do you order your groceries or do you physically go to the grocery store?
Go to the grocery store.
Okay. When you go to the grocery store and you have tacos on your meal plan, and maybe you have tacos and spaghetti, I'm going to encourage you to make double the taco meat and double the spaghetti. So you're going to probably be getting 4 pounds of meat, or I don't know how many pounds you use, but you're going to get more than double what you would expect. And then when you're cooking that taco meat, it takes the same amount of time to cook 2 pounds of taco meat as it does to cook 1, and then put 1 in the freezer in a zip bag or in a container. Make sure you label it.
Don't lose it.
One time I had barbecue beef on tacos thinking that it was taco meat, and it wasn't. It was barbecue beef. I thought it was chicken tacos. We've all done it. Make sure you label it, and then you'll have your spaghetti. And you think spaghetti's not hard. It's quick, it's fast, it's easy. But if you already have the meat browned up, do you make your own sauce, or do you use a jar of sauce? No shame in either game.
I use the jar.
Okay. Then you don't want to mix the meat with the sauce, but get the meat pre-cooked and have it in the freezer ready to go. That's one way to do it. Or if you happen to have an hour on a Saturday, I am not a big fan of spending my whole weekend prepping, but if you happen to have an hour, brown up 10 pounds of hamburger And you can put salt and pepper and onions in it, or you can do whatever you want, and then just put it in meal-size portions for your family. And that's really important because you freeze it in a big block, it is of no use to you because you're going to have to chip off the block. But put it into meal-size portions for your family and have it in your freezer. And then you can make spaghetti. You can make tacos. You can make cheeseburger baked potatoes. There's 1,000 things that you can do with it. And if you have that 10 pounds, there will be days where you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. Have you ever done it? You guys eat animal proteins. Have you ever done it with chicken? Have you ever pre-cooked chicken at all?
I have not done it with chicken, but I haven't done it with chicken, but I will take just frozen chicken breast and put it in an Instant Pot. So I feel like that's still a really simple way to do chicken. So I've never really gone through the thing of making it, cooking it, and then putting it back in the freezer.
Okay, so next time you can take the frozen chicken breast and put double the amount.
Double.
In the Instant Pot. And then have that chicken meat. And then that already cooked chicken meat, you think it's not going to make your life faster than the Instant Pot, but I promise you it will. Even if you take it out the night before and you thaw it in your refrigerator, presto changeo, you are a winning mom. But if you even take it out and just throw it in the microwave, it's still faster and less cleanup than the Instant Pot. You know, the Instant Pot's kind of a beast to clean. You know, you've got to clean the insert and you've got to clean the ring and you're not only saving cooking time, but you're saving cleaning time because you can take it out of that zip bag and put it in a small little bowl that can go straight into your dishwasher. Weeknight dinners, you and I have talked about this on social media before on DMs, is that it's about time management more than it is about recipes. If you can get that time management piece down, and again, start doing 15 minutes worth of work over your lunch break. Now, what are you doing for sides? Are you a salad person? Are you guys vegetable people? Are you just put the meat on the table and call it good? Like, what do you do about sides?
We'll make like baked potatoes or mashed potatoes. I actually recently found out that making mashed potatoes from scratch is very simple and you don't need to just use the bagged mashed potatoes. I'm 33. I literally just figured that out. So we've been kind of experimenting with that. And then roasting the vegetables or just getting frozen ones from a bag and boiling them. I got an air fryer recently, so we've been kind of experimenting with that a little bit. What else? And we'll steam some vegetables, but we'll do different sides like that. Me and my husband will eat salads, but not the kids won't really. They just eat the croutons out of the salads right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, no shame in that game. I like myself a crouton too, so that's fine. So then most of your veggie prep, you're either cooking potatoes or you're just taking frozen veggies out of the bag. You're not cleaning vegetables very often, right?
I'm trying in my learning how to cook to eat more fresh vegetables. But I don't have a lot of confidence in eating fresh vegetables all the time. So that's kind of been a work in progress.
What kind of fresh vegetables do you like?
Well, I'm working on carrots and different stir-fry vegetables. Broccoli, I'll buy that all cut up in the bag. That one's pretty easy. And I'll roast those. But as far as like peeling and cleaning and all that, I'm not there yet with my cooking skills.
No, that's okay. That's actually one thing that, especially really busy moms, I feel like at the phase of life that you're in where you're having a lot of physical work with the children. Like my kids are older, so a lot of my work's more mental than physical. But when you have kids that are, 6 down to 5 months, there's a lot of physical wrangling of bodies and taking care of basic needs. And so you may start looking at, to get your fresh vegetables, letting the grocery store do some of the chopping. Like you buy the bag of chopped broccoli. If you like mushrooms or stir-fry vegetables, buy them pre-sliced. Even one of my little tricks is to use the salad bar at the grocery store, especially if you need like just a little bit of like chopped celery for a recipe or something, like you need like a quarter cup of chopped celery for a recipe, go to the salad bar and grab a quarter cup of chopped celery and let the grocery store kind of do more of that prep. There's so many more pre-chopped vegetables available. As winter comes, you're going to be able to get fresh chopped butternut squash. And so there's so many things that you can do that the grocery store can help you with. And at your phase of life, That's probably the easiest way to get more fresh veggies in. And then as your skills improve, you're like, okay, I'm going to tackle peeling and cutting up my own butternut squash. We'll walk you through that. You message me anytime. I'll help you. It's not a big deal. But for now, let your time be focused on getting the other parts of the meal on the table and let the grocery store do some of the prep for those fresh veggies. I mean, you can buy the baby carrots already pre-peeled. You can buy the shredded carrots in a bag, and you can use those in stir fry too. So frozen vegetables are sometimes higher quality than fresh. I am a big fan of frozen veggies because you can throw them in your air fryer with a little bit of olive oil and salt, and you can blanch them in some salt water and throw them into your oven, and you can roast them. Frozen veggies are a wonderful, wonderful time saver, and often they have higher nutrients and they taste better than fresh. Don't beat yourself up too much that you're not doing too many fresh vegetables. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
They'll live. I grew up on canned vegetables, so I'm here, so we're good.
Right. I mean, vegetables at all are great. And if your kids go through a phase where they're revolting on vegetables, they'll be okay. They'll come back. I have one that revolted on vegetables for many, many years, and they are slowly starting to come back. Every once in a while, they'll surprise you and like eat a mushroom or an onion or something. And you're like, oh, you're eating those now. Okay. We'll let you eat all that you want. Okay, so the second thing I kind of noticed that you were a little frustrated with was that you were eating the same things over and over again, and you're kind of wanting to expand what you are fixing your family. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have this concept of base ingredients, and I think it's the best way to expand your family's palate as well as your cooking skills. And the theory with base ingredients is that you don't want to change the flavors and the ingredients at the same time. So here's an example is if your family is used to eating spaghetti with meat sauce, you don't want to switch that to a chickpea pasta curry. If you're wanting to change something with your family, change either the flavors. So you keep the beef and the tomato sauce, but you change the flavors from oregano and garlic and basil to cumin and coriander and curry. And you're keeping the proteins and the main ingredients the same, but you're changing the flavors. Or you change the base ingredients and you keep the same flavors. So you switch over to like cooking with chicken with basil and oregano and tomato sauce. So you've just changed the protein. So your family isn't getting two things changing at the same time. Does that make any sense to you?
I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's also like, I'm going to do healthy eating. So let's go to quinoa and this and that and this and that. And now I'm like, well, I don't like even me, not even just my kids. It's like, I don't like how that tastes. Let's go back to what I'm used to. So it's a really good way, not only to make meals that the family gets used to, and myself included, but also to kind of go to a healthier, maybe some of these healthier ingredients.
What works with this is I don't like people scrolling on their phones too much looking for recipes because I feel like it's a giant time suck, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up going to something that you have done it before. But as you're on social media and you're seeing people post things and you think, ooh, that looks good, I want you to evaluate it. Are the flavors something that we're used to, or are the main ingredients something that we're used to? When you look at those, pick one. So if you see a recipe that has flavors that your family's used to, but uses some different ingredients, maybe it's subbing out the meat with a bean or a tofu or something, you think, well, that's worth trying because the flavors are all the same. Now, here's the thing about trying new recipes. I really don't recommend that busy moms like you try them on a weeknight because there's too much pressure. Try them on a weekend where you can start a little bit earlier because anytime you're trying a new recipe, you want to give yourself a little bit of buffer time. Make sure you read through the recipe top to bottom and think about how much time each step is going to take. And sometimes when you're looking at that, you're like, ooh, I can combine these 2 steps. Read through the whole recipe and kind of look and see how much time it's going to take and think in your head how you're actually going to physically do the cooking. Are you going to start with the chopping? Are you going to start by turning on the boiling water? I do this even when I do television segments, is I actually walk through each step of the cooking process in my head before I execute it. And that is going to help you be more successful with a new recipe, but do it on the weekend when if you eat at 6:45, the world's not going to end, because on a busy night, you want to get those kids fed. You want to get them in their bath. You want to get them to bed so that you can have a couple of minutes to yourself. There's just too much pressure on the weekdays.
That sounds good, especially from the time management aspect. Because if you haven't done it before, do you really know? I mean, they say like prep 5 minutes, but is that really 5 minutes when you're like got a baby that's crying that you keep having to stop and help her or whatever it is? So that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So look for recipes that have familiar flavors or familiar ingredients and start trying maybe one of those 2 weekends a month. Like, you don't be ambitious and try and do it every week. Like your family might revolt because they're like, we're not used to these flavors anyway. And it's a lot of pressure on you because trying new recipes is stretching your skills. The other thing is if you are really kind of upping your cooking game, like you learned how to do mashed potatoes, that was a new cooking technique with a flavor that was familiar, right? Like mashed potatoes are mashed potatoes. You're used to that. You know what those are like. And you tried a new skill. For you, even rather than trying new flavors, you might just start looking for some new cooking skills. And when you look at a recipe, you think, I have never done that cooking technique. One of my favorite cooking techniques is to blanch vegetables. Have you ever blanched vegetables?
I've seen YouTube videos about it.
Blanching vegetables before you roast them is magical if you use enough salt in the water. So you can do this with frozen veggies. You can do it with fresh veggies. You can do it with the pre-bagged broccoli from the grocery store. I'm all for it. You get a pot of really, really, really salty water. So if I've got probably like 2 quarts of water, I'm putting in like 2 tablespoons of salt. So about a tablespoon per quart. So a lot of salt. And you put the veggies in there for about 2 or 3 minutes, and they're usually going to get really bright and vibrant colored. If they're a carrot, they're going to get a brighter orange. If there's something green, they're going to get really, really bright. Then you take them out of that water and you put them on an oiled baking sheet and roast them in the oven at 450 degrees. They've got that salt that is penetrated all the way through, and it's going to make them taste so much better. A friend of mine, she texted me and she said, I don't know what this magic is with blanching, but my family ate all the cauliflower off the pan before it even got to the table. And she's not kidding. It's happened with my family too, and my family can be a little veggie adverse. Blanching is a cooking technique, and it's a way of cooking, but especially when you're trying to expand vegetables, it's something. So that might be something that you try in the next couple of weeks to kind of expand your cooking skills, expand your veggies. So it's kind of a win-win-win.
Can you blanch it like at lunchtime and then put it in the refrigerator and then roast it from the refrigerator at night?
Absolutely. The actual technical term for blanching, because I kind of do cheater blanching, is you actually take it and then you put it into a bath of ice water. So you're chilling it. If you take it out and put it in the refrigerator, and I've done that before. As a matter of fact, sometimes I will use the same water over and over again because I was like, this is a lot of salted water. And I will blanch like 3 nights worth of veggies and then I'll just roast them fresh every night so that they're nice and crisp. And you may do that on the weekends. You may take and blanch a few sets of veggies and then just be able to throw them straight on a sheet pan at dinner time, or blanch them at lunchtime while you're eating your lunch and then put them in the fridge. Absolutely, you could do that.
That's a good idea.
You say you do Instant Pot meals. Have you ever got everything in the liner of your Instant Pot over your lunch hour so that when it's dinner time, you can just put it in the Instant Pot and start it before you go pick up your kids from daycare?
When you put it in the liner, are you then putting it into the fridge?
Yeah, I'm taking the liner out of the Instant Pot thing. So it's the metal liner. Yeah, and I just have that in the fridge with the ingredients ready to go. And then all I have to do is slip the liner out of the refrigerator and put it in the Instant Pot. Have you ever done that?
I've never done that. I am working still on cooking skills and having confidence because to me, I'm like, oh, it's going to go from the cold refrigerator into this Instant Pot. Is that even legal? I'm not sure. So I've never done it.
Okay. That might change your world a little bit Because if you can have that Instant Pot going while you're driving to pick up kids from daycare back and forth, and the Instant Pot can keep things warm at a safe temperature for a long time, with the Instant Pot, it goes from cold to hot so quickly that you're not in the danger zone. The danger zone is 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And you want to stay at that temperature for as little amount of time as possible. So room temperature is like 70 degrees, give or take. You don't want it sitting at room temperature, but it can sit in your refrigerator at 38 degrees during the day. And then you just put it straight in and the Instant Pot can take it up. You can do this with the slow cooker as long as the food isn't frozen. You don't really want frozen food in the slow cooker ever because it sits at that 40 to 140 too long. But you can even get things in your slow cooker liner and keep your slow cooker liner in your refrigerator. You can prep it the night before, put that slow cooker liner in your refrigerator, and then at lunchtime when you're taking a lunch break, you can put your slow cooker liner in and turn your slow cooker on. So doing that with your Instant Pot or slow cooker may be a way for you to kind of take 10 minutes at lunchtime and save you 45 at dinner time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know, the people that are the slow cooker and the Instant Pot experts are my friends at Thriving Home. ThrivingHomeblog.com is their website. I'll link to it. They have 2 slow cooker Instant Pot cookbooks, and they're just brilliant with it. They even have like a 1-hour prep session where you spend 1 hour on the weekend and you have 6 meals that you keep in your freezer that you can just put into your slow cooker or Instant Pot. They're the queens of that. I have other skills. And so I send people to them for slow cooker and Instant Pot tips. But as far as food safety, you'll be fine if you're putting it from as long as you're keeping it in the refrigerator. And sometimes that's safer even than putting it in the slow cooker all day long. Most people are overcooking their food in their slow cooker. And that's part of the reason why slow cooker meals kind of taste meh sometimes. Chicken breast in your slow cooker really only take like 3 hours on low, where most people are cooking it for like 8-9 hours on high, and they're overcooking their meat.
Okay. Yeah. I just recently invested in a meat thermometer. And so I've been like grilling chicken and then using that. And I'm like, wow, like now I don't have to worry about, is this chicken done? But I'm also, like you're saying, not overcooking. And it tasted so good. I was like, why is it taking me so long to buy this $20 meat thermometer from Amazon? Like, I don't know why I never owned one.
Oh my goodness, Emily, an instant read thermometer is an indispensable kitchen tool. I'm so glad you have one. I'll link to my favorite one in the show notes. I have one that I've had for over 10 years in my kitchen. It was $12. And it is like the best $12. And it saved me so much guessing because nobody wants raw chicken. You know, you want to make sure that you're feeding your family safe food, but overcooked chicken is not pleasant either.
Yeah, there's like the fine line, and you want to be right at the good part of it.
Yep. So 165 degrees is fully cooked. Usually, most foods will have a little bit of residual cooking. If you're pulling them off the grill at 160, it'll come up to 165 on its own. That's kind of that's the FDA. There are chefs that would say go a little lower than that. I kind of like to go with the FDA because I'm not going to mess with it, and I'm not going to get people sick. So, but 165, you know that it's food safe. Okay, so before we go, do you have any last questions?
What would be your best recommendation on freezer storage? Because all I ever do is Ziplocs. All I ever do is Ziplocs in the freezer, and I label them half the time. Now, I try to label them. But do you have any recommendation on any other type of, like, I know you say you do lasagnas, and so what kind of, do I need anything more to be doing these freezer things, or is Ziplocs really all I need to do and that's it?
I am a fan of my zip top bags, and that's what I use for probably 90% of my freezer cooking is zip top bags. A couple of tips about zip top bags is use a Sharpie marker to mark them before you put the food in. Because once the food is in, they get kind of slippery and it's hard to write dates. Put the ingredients and the date on it on your zip top bag. If you're trying to cut down on plastic, which a lot of us are, you can use those stasher bags, which are kind of a reusable zip top bag. The ones that I like the best are the ones that are kind of round and they stand up on their own, so you can pour liquids in them without them like spilling all over. So you can get those, and I can link to some of those in the show notes. The other thing is I am a new fan of super cubes. Super cubes are really awesome. They are these silicone molds, and they come in all sorts of different sizes. 2 cup and 1 cup is probably the size that you would use the most. They will stand up on their own. They have a solid plastic lid, and you can even put liquids in them, and it portions everything into perfectly square or rectangle blocks of measured size. So it's really good for like lunches and stuff, or like when I'm making soups for my lunch, the super cubes work really well. Or if you're doing hamburger, you can have a 2 cup block of hamburger. I'll link to them in the show notes. It's this really fun couple out of California, and they invented this, and they are a little expensive. I'm not going to say that they're not, but you use them over and over and over again. And the key with the super cubes is you freeze them in the super cubes, and then you take them out and you can put them in zip bags or stasher bags. If you're doing a lasagna, I am a big fan of the Dollar Tree disposable pans. And I do lasagna in the Dollar Tree disposable pans. I feel like it's worth 50 cents. And then after I bake it, I toss it. And I don't have to worry about it. Or actually, I usually rinse it off and put it in the recycle bin because it's aluminum. But if you're wanting to be a little bit more eco-conscious, I tell people to look for 9x13 containers at estate sales and garage sales. And just use so that you're not using your regular stuff, because you don't want your regular 9x13 pan tied up in your freezer until you decide to eat a lasagna. So get some disposable ones from the dollar store, or if you're wanting to be a little more eco-friendly, my mother has a stack of like 12 of them that she finds at estate sales, and she'll like get when she's taking dinners to someone who had a baby or something, she'll just leave them in the pan and just leave it with them. I use zip bags most of the time, and I just feel like it's the best. Now, there's a couple of tips about zip bags I can give you. I like to put my zip bags, because I'm usually doing several things at a time. I lay them flat on a baking sheet that has a rim. So if they leak a little something, it's not leaking all over my freezer, and I put it in the freezer until it's solid. And then I take it off that baking sheet and I can stack it in containers and bins and stuff in my freezer. But freeze it solid first, because you don't want to just throw it in your freezer and then it's like folded wonky and you can't get the stuff out of the bag. Or if you're doing Instant Pot specific meals, put a bag inside your Instant Pot liner, the insert that goes into it. Put the food in that and freeze it in the shape of the Instant Pot. So when you go to make it in your Instant Pot, you don't have to worry about thawing it so that it fits.
Okay. And then just goes right in there and you cook it.
Then you just pop it right in there and you cook it. And most Instant Pot things, especially if it's got a sauce or something, you want to go on saute for a couple of minutes to kind of get some of the liquid exuding, or add a little bit of liquid so that it can come up to pressure and it will cook faster.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before we go?
I was listening about how you talk about your quarterly big shopping trips. And this sounds like the most amazing thing, because I find myself going to Costco all the time, like once a week sometimes. And it's like, this week I'll buy shampoo and next week I'll need laundry detergent. And sometimes it's because I'm shopping the sales, but sometimes it's just because I'm not organized. And so I was thinking, wow, you do this big shopping trip for the next, couple months. You're just making your list of what you want, and you do this big shopping trip where you can go to the different stores. Do you have any organization tips or tricks to be able to prepare for a big shopping trip like that? Or is it just as simple as, you're making your list and you know where you want to buy the items at? Because is there anything more to it to prepare for a quarterly trip? Because I did this sort of when we were getting ready for the pandemic, and now I'm like, wow, I could do that, but just all the time throughout the year.
Yes, this quarterly shopping trip saves you so much. For those who haven't heard about it, what it is where I go about once every 3 months and I shop for all my staples. And I usually am hitting 2 or 3 stores, and I'm getting toilet paper, shampoo, deodorant, feminine products, like everything that I need that is not like fresh fruit and vegetables. I even stock up on some of my main canned goods for the next 3 months. What I get sometimes changes by season. So I'm sometimes buying different things for the start of summer than I am for right before the holidays. In the Feed Your Family Tonight holiday planning guide, I actually have like 4 worksheets that walk you through all of the items. If people are interested in that, feedyourfamilytonight.com/shop. I will make sure that even though it's not holiday season, that guide is up live and you can purchase that. It's an instant digital download and it has lists of all the things so that your brain starts thinking of it. And what I encourage you to do is over the next 3 months, start checking off the things on those lists that you are using. Write the brands that you like. And then in September, October, go and do a big shopping trip and you can look at those lists and you can say, okay, I like Suave shampoo and I've been buying the Costco brand toilet paper and we're going through about this much per month. And so you kind of keep a little mental note for the next 2 or 3 months so that you kind of know about what to get.
Yeah, I feel like that would not only save me time going to the store all the time, or it could cut out different stores each week, but it would also save money because then you could actually put a little bit more thought into, instead of just we're out of shampoo, like you're figuring out the brands that you like and getting them at a place where you know that the price is the best.
Sometimes you might be paying a little bit more for shampoo, but you're getting your toilet paper less. Or you're paying a little bit more for the canned tomatoes, but you're getting your pasta less. And I find that it works out in the wash and just the mental space that it gives me of knowing that these ingredients and these staples are in my house, so I don't have to be constantly worried about running out of them, just saves me so much time and so much brain space and definitely cuts down on the amount of shopping that I'm doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis.
Okay, I need that guide. I need to look at that because I'm really interested in that. It sounds like a great idea.
It's so helpful. And that whole holiday planning guide has so much more in it, but that's a really handy piece that's in the holiday planning guide. Emily, it has been such a joy to meet you face to face and talk with you. I hope that you gained some knowledge today that will help you and some encouragement to make dinner time a little bit easier in your house. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wasn't that so much fun? Emily was such a delight, and it was so fun to help her get some tips and tricks to make dinner time just a little bit easier in her home. I would love to hear from you in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group, what you might have learned from this episode. And if you are interested in coming on air and having me help you with some of the challenges you're facing with weeknight dinner, you can apply to be a guest on the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. If you go to feedyourfamilytonight.com/apply, a link to the application is there. It's not any big hairy dairy deal. It's a small little application. But if you're interested, I would love to talk with you some more. So reach out, feedyourfamilytonight.com/apply. For now, friends, I hope you are having a great week. Take care.